Ifuru is a novel by Flora Nwapa which was published in 1966 as number 26 in Heinemann's African Writers series, making it the first. Ifuru is a novel by Flora Nwapa which was published in 1966 as Furu is a novel by Flora Nwapa which was published in 1966 as number 26 in Heinemann's African Writers series, making it the first book written by a Nigerian woman, in fact, any African woman, to be published internationally. The book is about Ifuru, an Igbo woman who lives in a small village in colonial West Africa. Throughout the story, Ifuru wishes to be a mother, though she is an independent-minded woman and respected for her trading ability. The book is rich in portrayals of the Igbo culture and of different scenarios, which have led to its current status as a feminist and cultural work. About the writer. Florence Nwanzuruahu Nakuru Nwapa, the 13th of January 1931 to the 16th of October 1993, was a Nigerian author who has been called the mother of modern African literature. She was the forerunner to a generation of African women writers, and the first African woman novelist to be published in the English language in Britain. She achieved international recognition with her first novel Ifuru, published in 1966 by Heinemann Educational Books. While never considering herself a feminist, she was best known for recreating life and traditions from an Igbo woman's viewpoint. She published African literature and promoted women in African society. She was one of the first African women publishers when she founded Tana Press in Nigeria in 1970. Nwapa engaged in governmental work in reconstruction after the Biafran War. In particular, she worked with orphans and refugees who were displaced during the war. African literature is literature from Africa, either oral orator, or written in African and Afroasiatic languages. Examples of pre-colonial African literature can be traced back to at least the 4th century AD. The best known is the Kebra Negist, or Book of Kings. Akama during the colonial period is the slave narrative, often written in English or French for Western audiences. Among the first pieces of African literature to receive significant worldwide critical acclaim was Things Fall Apart, by Chinua Achebe, published in 1958. African literature in the late colonial period increasingly feature themes of liberation and independence. Post-colonial literature has become increasingly diverse, with some writers returning to their native languages. Common themes include the clash between past and present, tradition and modernity, self and community, as well as politics and development. On the whole, female writers are today far better represented in African literature than they were prior to independence. The internet has also changed the landscape of African literature, leading to the rise of digital reading and publishing platforms such as Okada Books. Who are Igbo people? The Igbo people English, Igbo Igbo, US also Bo Igbo, also spelled Igbo and formerly also Igbo, 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 Igbons, Igbo, natively Ndigbo are an ethnic group in Nigeria. They are primarily found in Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo states. A sizable Igbo population is also found in Delta and River states. Ethnic Igbo populations are found in Cameroon, Gabon, and Equatorial Guinea as migrants as well as outside Africa. There has been much speculation about the origins of the Igbo people, which are largely unknown. Geographically, the Igbo homeland is divided into two unequal sections by the Niger River, an eastern which is the larger of the two and a western section. The Igbo people are one of the largest ethnic groups in Africa. The Igbo language is part of the Niger-Congo language family. Its regional dialects are somewhat mutually intelligible amidst the larger, Igboid, cluster. The Igbo homeland straddles the lower Niger River, east and south of the Edoid and Idamoid groups, and west of the Ibibioid cross-river cluster. Before the period of British colonial rule in the 20th century, the Igbo were politically fragmented by the centralized chiefdoms of Enri, Aro Confederacy, Agbar and Onitsha. Frederick Lugard introduced the Ease system of warrant chiefs. Unaffected by the Fulani War and the resulting spread of Islam in Nigeria in the 19th century, they became overwhelmingly Christian under colonization. In the wake of decolonization, the Igbo developed a strong sense of ethnic identity. During the Nigerian Civil War of 1967-1970, the Igbo territories seceded as the short-lived Republic of Biafra, the movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra and the indigenous people of Biafra, two sectarian organizations formed after 1999, continue a nonviolent struggle for an independent Igbo state. Summary. The story is set in West African Igbo rural community. The protagonist, Ifuru, is a strong and beautiful woman. She is the daughter of Nwashike Ojin, a hero and leader of his tribe. She falls in love with a poor farmer called Adazua and runs away with him, upsetting her people because he did not even perform the traditional wine carrying and pay her bride price. She supports her husband financially and is very loyal to him, which makes her mother-in-law and aunt by marriage very fond of her. At this point, she accepts to be helped around her house by a young girl named Ojia in order to help her parents who are in financial difficulty. However, Adazua soon abandons Ifuru and their daughter Oganam, as his own father has done in the past. After her daughter dies, Ifuru discovers that he has married another woman and had a child with her. Her in-laws try to convince her to stay with him, i.e. remain in waiting in their marital house. Ifuru then tries to look for him, but after failing, she leaves his house and goes back to the house of her father, who receives her happily, since she can care for him better than others. Ifuru then meets Gilbert, an educated man in her age group. He asks to marry her and follows tradition by visiting her father, and she accepts. The first year of their marriage is a happy one. However, Ifuru is unable to conceive any children, so this begins to cause trouble. She is later chosen by the goddess of the lake, Uhamiri, to be one of her worshippers, Uhamiri being known to offer her worshippers wealth and beauty but few children. Ifuru's second marriage eventually also fails, as her husband mistreats her in favor of his second and third wives. Characters. Ifuru, the protagonist. Born into the highly respected Nwashike family, Ifuru is raised solely by her father, Nwashike Ojin. The novel portrays her as a beautiful, kind-hearted, strong-willed, understanding, clever, and relatively more free-spirited female character compared to the other female characters. In certain scenarios, Ifuru does not follow the traditions of her people. For example, she marries Adazua although he cannot pay her dowry. However, she undergoes the customary circumcision although it is unsafe and painful. Overall, Ifuru does not completely try to rebel against her society's constructs and mentality but slowly breaks away from what a reader of this century would deem as anti-feminist ideas. Nwashike Ojin, Ifuru's father. He is a highly respected member of their society because of his own father, who fought against the Aro people, and also due to the fact that he was an excellent fisher and farmer, abilities valued among his people when he was younger. He is praised for being wise and understanding but surprises people with how lenient he is with his daughter when she does not follow traditions. He gives up on trying to bring Ifuru home after he is told that she is happy with Adazua, and after the marriage falls apart, Nwashike Ojin still lets his daughter return home. Adazua, Ifuru's first husband. He is portrayed as a lazy, irresponsible character unlike Ifuru, who is willing to continue her trade after only 1 month of feasting, i.e. eating in order to heal after her circumcision, because of the little money they had. He is deemed unworthy to marry Ifuru because of his unknown father who did not achieve anything to bring honor to the family. Within this context, he becomes even less worthy when he eventually elopes with another woman. He does not even return for their daughter's funeral. Ifuru eventually leaves him although it is customary to wait for the return of the wrongdoing husband. Ajanapu, Adazua's aunt and Ifuru's aunt-in-law. A sensitive, strong, and talkative mother of 7 who acts as a mother figure to Ifuru. Throughout the story, Ajanuku does not hesitate to give advice, and a majority of the time her advice is helpful to Ifuru. The author comments on how she could be a midwife, which is convincing, because of the clear expertise she shows when it is Ifuru's time to deliver her baby. Asai, Adazua's mother and Ifuru's mother-in-law. Her quiet and reserved persona is most noticeable when she is with her sister, Ajanuku, showing readers the contrast between the two. Although her son does not follow premarital customs, she treats Ifuru well. Nusu, Asai's cousin. He is known as a great farmer, but the flood ruins his harvest, causing him to fall into debt and to beg Ifuru to take his daughter, Ojia, as a maid and borrow 10 pounds. He and his wife have trouble paying back the 10 pounds, but Ifuru's patient character prevents any tension to form among them. Nuabata, Ojia's mother. She is an uneducated, hard-working farmer who works with her husband on their rented plot of land. Her love for her husband and ignorance become apparent when she cried after she heard that her husband needed surgery. Ojia, Ifuru's maid, Nuabata and Nusu's daughter. She started living and working at Ifuru's house at the age of 10. Ojia helps Ifuru take care of Ogonami, resulting in a deep bond between the characters, which is why Ojia's reaction to Ogonim's passing is justified despite how present side characters at the funeral told her to stop. Ogonam, Ifuru's firstborn daughter. a healthy baby girl until the age of 2, when she becomes ill and dies. Gilbert he is Ifuru's childhood friend and, later on, her second husband. His Igbo name is Enerberry, but it changed to Gilbert after he was baptized. He is one of the few characters to receive an education, although he had to stop at Standard 5 due to a lack of funds. Meg Gilbert's mother, a neutral and quiet character who happily accepts Ifuru as her daughter-in-law. Omirima, one of the women who criticizes Gilbert and Ifuru's public displays of affection, pointing them out to Ahmed. In fact, she seems to be the main source of gossip in the novel. Dr. Uzuru Ifuru lived with Dr. Uzuru and his mother until the age of 15. He treats Nusu and Inona under Ifuru's request. Nakoya Nishi is Gilbert Friend's sister whom he knows since childhood. She later becomes his second wife and has a baby boy. Inona, the gate woman with an infected leg. Ifuru helps her by arranging an appointment with Dr. Uzuru. Later, she receives surgery and made a full recovery. The novel Ifuru is recognized as a substantial stepping stone in Nigerian literature and in the feminist movement in Nigeria, for it was the first novel published by a Nigerian woman in English. As a result, Nwapa was awarded the title, Ogbufi, which translates into, Killer of Cow. This title is of high importance, for it is usually acquired by men. Furthermore, Nwapa gained even more recognition for her work, as the Nigerian government granted her several prestigious awards after Ifuru was released. After Ifuru's first publication, it received mixed reviews. For instance, Kenyan author Grace Ogot spoke positively of the novel in a review which appeared in the East Africa Journal in 1966, stating that, of the many novels that are coming out of Nigeria, Ifuru is one of the few that portrays vividly the woman's world, giving only peripheral treatment to the affairs of men. Four Nwapa's male counterparts, however, were not as fond of the book. Literary critic Eldred Jones and author Eustace Palmer both represent the opinion of some Nigerian male writers at the time, most of whom criticize Nwapa for focusing on the affairs of women. Later critics of Ifuru, however, commend Nwapa for creating an image of female protagonists unlike that created by Nigerian male writers. Author Rose Akalanu describes Nwapa and certain other African female writers as pathfinders, who were able to break the seals of silence and invisibility on the female protagonist by the early traditionalist male writers. 5. Christine N. O'Hale, a professor at the Department of English, Communications, Media Arts and Theater in Chicago State University, mentions that Nwapa's efforts to present brand new, assertive and individualistic females have helped to salvage the lopsided image that male writers have created. 6. Which is mainly one of passiveness. Furthermore, critics such as Nana Banyue Horn praise the use of dialogue as a stylistic element of the novel. In discussing Ifuru, Banyue Horn states, "The constant banter of women reveals character as much as it paints a comprehensive, credible, social canvas against which Ifuru's life can be assessed." Many reviewers of the novel agree that the dialogic style established in Ifuru is even more central to the novel's thematic concerns. Through the dialogue that Nwapa uses, she is able to paint an accurate picture of what life for Igbo women is like. Critics such as Christine Laughlin point out that the use of dialogue in Ifuru allows a sense of African feminism to emerge, free of Western-imposed values. Other critics, however, reprimand the excessive use of dialogue, considering the novel too gossipy.